So guys, this is it. The review I've been dreading, but at the same time it's going to be nice to finally talk about this one and get it off my chest. Jason Goes to Hell. Now I know this is a controversial pick, but... Oh, excuse me guys. Sorry. Hello? No, I'm talking about Jason Goes to Hell. No, I'm not reviewing that one. When I said I was reviewing all the movies, I meant ones I didn't hate. No, it's not cheap. I didn't.
Do you want to review the movie? Do you want to review the movie? Do you want to talk about Jason Takes Manhattan? Is that what you want to do? Is that what you want to do? Well, you know what you and Jason have in common? You can both go to hell. You can go to hell because I'm not talking about that movie again, man. I'm not talking about that goddamn.
So I guess we'll be reviewing Jason Takes Manhattan instead.
I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason.
Did you know that a young boy drowned?
Legend has it that Jason saw his mother beheaded that night, and he took his revenge. A revenge that he'll continue to seek if anyone ever enters his wilderness again.
This is it, guys. We have not only reached the bottom of the barrel, we have fucking nosedived into it, because this is the one Friday the 13th movie that is exactly as bad as people say it is. So Jason Takes Manhattan follows a group of characters you couldn't care less about who are being stalked by the undead serial killer Jason Voorhees whilst taking a boat ride to Manhattan. That's right, a boat ride. Because just in case you didn't know the one notable thing about this movie, it's the fact that there ain't a whole lot of Manhattan in Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah, that title you see there, what, did you think that indicated the setting of the movie? What, are you, an asshole or something? So, the story behind this shipwreck is that writer-director Rob Penn originally did want to set the majority of this movie in Manhattan. He set scenes in the Brooklyn Bridge, Madison Square Garden, the Chrysler Building, you name it. But because this is a Friday the 13th movie and not a Woody Allen picture, they didn't actually have the budget to shoot the majority of the scenes in New York. So instead of just going back and crossing that title out and starting from scratch, he decided that, you know what, the audience will just settle for a boat. Boats, Manhattan, they're like the same thing, right? Oh my god, and you know what the sad thing about this is? That is like the least of this movie's problems. Because if the boat portion of this movie had been executed well enough, it could still be salvageable. Now, it would still be annoying to have that misleading title and that misleading ad campaign, but it would still be enjoyable for what it is. But it's not. I dare say that the boat portion of this movie is the low point of the Friday the 13th franchise. You think about horror movies that use isolated settings to their advantage, like Alien or The Thing. Movies that use that isolated setting to create a fear of anxiety and claustrophobia, and then you compare that with this movie that has no sense of suspense or atmosphere, and it's no wonder why you just get so freaking sick of that boat. Certainly not helping are the characters. Now, sometimes the likability of your characters don't matter all that much. I mean, some of my favorite horror films of all time have not had the most notable or likable cast. But in this movie, where you're stuck in this confined space with these characters for over an hour, you better make them some damn interesting and entertaining characters. People worth sharing this experience with. But oh my god, everybody here is a total waste. Not only do you have some of the worst acting of the series, but all these characters are one-dimensional, one-note, and any attempt to give them personality falls completely flat on its face. You have the Asian girl who's being pressured into doing drugs, and we're supposed to feel bad for her, I guess, even though we don't know a thing about her. Then you have Wayne, who has a camcorder in the place of a personality. But what do these characters have in common? Well, they're both infatuated with Tamara, the bad girl, the popular girl, the character you love to hate. That is, of course, in an ideal world where this movie doesn't suck, but it does. So instead, we are given a sloppily written, poorly acted, jumbled, confused mess of a character. There is an art to being hateable, and Melissa was like the Picasso of that. She was the Leonardo of bitchiness. But Tamara's motivations and her actions are so contrived and unbelievable that she just becomes infuriating rather than entertaining. But if the supporting characters weren't soul-crushingly bad enough, Then you have the leads, because god damn it, this movie just doesn't like me. The movie doesn't like me, and the movie doesn't like you. First you have Sean, this Joey Tribbiani looking dude, who either spends the movie whining about the fact that Rennie doesn't like him back, or whining about the fact that his dad wants him to be a sea captain. Then you get to Rennie, our final girl, who is just problematic. Not helping is the fact that the actress here plays the character with the enthusiasm of someone who was forced to sign up for drama class. But this whole attempt to give her and Jason a history, a backstory, is so laughable and so asinine that I actually feel like I owe Chris from Part 3 an apology. So the whole backstory thing here is that when she was 10, Rennie was pushed into the lake by her uncle, who was trying to give her some swimming lessons or something. And then Jason, in child form, grabbed her leg or something like that. Now, of course, Rennie would have been a kid around the events of Part 6. So this whole thing makes no fucking sense. It makes no goddamn sense. And even if it did make sense, so what? So what that Jason grabbed her leg when she was 10 years old? Why do these movies think that awkward run-ins constitute some sort of deep backstory? The only two characters worth a damn are Julius and Uncle Charles, for totally different reasons. Julius honestly seems like a cool guy. He's courageous, he's bold, he's the first to sort of run into action. He even puts up a fight against Jason mano a mano. Now that takes some balls. It's a futile effort, of course, but you gotta admire the guy for trying to go out with a bang here. And of course, that scene is far and away the best thing about this movie. Then you have Charles, who is just an unabashed prick, in and out. I mean, all this guy does is whine, taunt people, try to dominate Rennie's life. I mean, this guy is the most overbearing asshole. But the actor here plays him with such relish that he becomes the most entertaining character of the entire movie, I swear to God.
You know this cruise was your idea, so at the very least you could show up on time.
But there's one other character I should be remembering. Who is it? It was somebody important? Somebody I was supposed to... Oh, right! Jason! This is straight up the most useless Jason ever put to film. Kid Jason from the first movie was more intimidating. I'm not going to say that it's Kane Hodder's fault. I mean, he does as much with this material as I could expect from anyone. And he even manages to get some laughs in this movie. But being scary, having a presence, no, not really. Maybe that's partly because Jason is coated with slime and it is distractingly excessive. And this makes him seem less like a slasher icon and more like a Ninja Turtles villain. Like a cartoon Ninja Turtles villain. And I guess Jason didn't get a good sleep in that coma of his because he has taken his sweet ass time to do his thing. Stab her. Stab her. Stab, oh my god, Michael Myers would be telling you to hurry up. And even when he does get to Manhattan after a while, Jason is totally neutered in this movie. You think he's going to be going around slicing up New Yorkers left and right because, that's what the trailer showed us. But no, he just kind of pushes people around. Hell, he even kicks a stereo. Jason is so fucking petty in this movie that he's reduced to just kicking stereos. But wait, at least that leads to some kind of badass fight scene between him and those gang member guys, right? You gotta be fucking kidding me. He lifts his mask. That's all he feels like he needs to do. That's sufficient for Jason. Well, why the hell didn't he do that more often? That would save him a lot of fucking energy if he just looked at people and lifted up his mask. But at least this is a cool sort of build-up to Jason's final unmasking, right? Because now we have an idea of how terrifying this design is gonna look. And after the amazing design effects of Part 7, you know that the filmmakers are gonna go all out for this one. This fucking movie, man. Oh, this fucking movie. Then top that off with the most ridiculous and humiliating death for a slasher villain that I've ever seen, and you have a recipe for the most uninspired take of the character ever. Okay, so the characters suck, and so does Jason this time around, but even Part 5 had those problems, and it still managed to be more or less entertaining. So maybe this movie still has its chance, right? I will give Rob Hennon this. And that's the fact that there is some creative direction here. There's some interesting camera movements, some interesting lighting. He tries to put in these weird hallucinatory dream sequences, but it's some negative amounts of scary. To just have Jason explicitly teleport this time around deflates any tension, because now we're wondering why he doesn't just kill everybody and move on with his day. The kills, while creative in theory, because, they're supposed to be ironic, they're tied to all the characters' personal traits, they're totally neutered, once again, by the MPAA, and because this movie has nothing else going for it, it is so much more glaring than it was in Part 7 for me. Don't try to defend this movie telling me that at least they tried something different, because you know what, they didn't. A change of scenery doesn't change the fact that this is as by the numbers as slasher movies go. Not only is this movie a step back for this franchise, but it's indicative of why the genre burnt out so badly. I mean, filmmakers were so desperate to keep audiences interested in these movies that they resorted to flat-out lying. What else do you call the title of this movie other than a flat-out lie? So yeah, it's no wonder why this became the lowest grossing entry of the franchise, or why Paramount sold the rights to New Line Cinemas. Maybe you think I'm being harsh on this movie, maybe you like this movie, and I can accept that. I mean, I wish I liked this movie. But as a Jason fan, as a slasher fan, as a horror movie fan, I cannot sign off on this movie at all. It is the one movie in this franchise that I just consider irredeemable. There are some enjoyable moments when they get to Manhattan, and seeing Jason in Times Square is a real treat. But that's a minute and a half worth of good stuff in this feature-length movie, the longest movie of the franchise. So why would I sit through all this bullshit when I can just find all the good stuff in a YouTube clip? So guys, those are my thoughts on Jason Takes Manhattan. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Well, let me know in the comments below if you liked it, because I'd honestly be curious to know why. Join me next time when we talk about supposedly the worst Jason movie of all time. It's not the worst.
Jason Goes to Hell. The Final Friday.